Activate.
Hey everybody, DJ Kelly Reverb, welcome to This Pink Cloud. We are a show that is about multiple pathways to recovery. Oh yeah, I forgot, we got the fart noise back, right?
Yeah, let's
hear it. There we go, dude. Oh, that's nice and loud. Anyway, we are a show that is about multiple pathways to recovery, mental health, all that good stuff. Ow. Ow. Yeah, and we have one camera today, which is always fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything's always fun.
Everything's always an adventure here. Hey, be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my co-host and prison tattooed, Chad LeMans.
Well, it was jail tattoos.
Oh, jail.
Hey, but I got a real one the other day.
I got
the other one figured out.
Did you?
Yeah, I got it fixed since I was in jail.
What is that?
It was a cool symbol that I was in jail with. Ironically,
cool
it has
symbol.
Ironically, it has a circle and the triangle embedded in it.
Right.
Which is kind of funny how
the
that
recovery
works.
thing.
No, like the whole AA.
Which
symbol.
one did you get in
I got
jail?
that in jail. You can still see like the outline of where it was.
Where they used,
and it was terrible. I got this one in jail.
Where they used cigarette ashes and
no, they used
human semen.
You set grease on fire and then you capture the soot on a piece of paper when it burns. Then you scrape that into into like the clear shampoo, and it makes ink that will never laser away. And then you just, I was hit with a staple over and over and over.
Thank you.
So when I got it, I was like, I told the artist, I was like,
keeping this one for life.
This is my first real tattoo. And then he started hitting me with the needle. And I was like, I got to be honest with you, man. This is a whole lot easier than taking a staple over and over. And he started laughing. So, yeah.
Well, good times, dude.
It is good times, man.
Good times from tattoos from the inside.
Yeah, and I kept it.
I like it.
I kept it.
Well, you had no choice, right?
Well, yeah.
Because lasers can't remove it.
Well, that one was pretty shitty. This one ain't going nowhere.
All right. Well, hey, we're all very proud of you,
I have a real
Chad.
tattoo now.
We are all.
I'm a real boy now.
You're a real boy
I'm a real boy now.
Love it. Anyway, I am excited to have this young man on all the way live from Ibiza. I met this guy actually on Mix Masters, which was a, kind of a feedback thing where you had like these guys like Josh Wink, and he was actually kind of the moderator of everything, and you could tell he was just fucking cool as a cucumber, but stressed the fuck out because he's like doing like 24, 48 hours of nothing but Zooms, all, worldwide and everything. It was crazy. But give it up for my good friend, or my new friend, Adam McLaughlin. How are you, bro?
I'm very well. Thanks for that warm intro.
Yeah. Well, because I know you're like a seasoned vet, dude. Like I could see the beads of sweat coming off your forehead when you were doing those. It was just like...
Anything over the internet is always a shit show. So we had how many? It was back-to-back shit shows, wasn't it?
It was like literally like 48 hours or 72 hours of Okay, I've got Kevin Saunderson on, and it's his son that's engineering his side, and then Josh Wink's got it down, but then some are some of the guys are boomers like myself, and they're a little challenged on that end, but you made it through and it was funny.
Yeah, they can make a timeless dance classic for the ages, but they can't seem to figure out how to enable audio on Zoom. So it was just
right.
Yeah.
But so,
and then there's
go ahead.
Go on. I was just going to say it's that, and then it's you've got maybe 200 people in an audience and prize giveaways and all of this fun stuff just to try and give back to the community. But it's always really, really draining, especially since we were dealing with American time zones and European time zones. So you guys would be on one webinar, and then I'd have to wait for 4 hours to do another webinar for another time zone. So it was pretty intense, but fun.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, how many times do you get to, like, in the same day? I've got, Kevin Master Reese Saunderson, and then I've got Marshall Jefferson, and then and then it's like Josh Wink, and then it's like, Seamus Haji. I mean, it was like, like a who's who of the dance music industry. So it was fun, though. It was fun from my end, but highly stressful from your end.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well,
so I was going to say we ended up talking, after the show, because he could tell I was a ringer. We were ringers, we had with our production and everything. But we started talking, and then, come to find out he's in recovery as well. But then he has actually moved on to a new company that is called Harmonify Live, and that's HARMONIFY live.com.
Harmonify Live.
Harmonify Live.
Is it Harmonify?
That
was tight.
That's my British accent.
It's Harmonify.
No, it's
Harmonify Live.
It's my British accent. I'm gonna blame it on my British accent.
Hell yeah, dude.
But anyway, yeah, dude. So let's hear your backstory, because I know you were in the military and signed up to kill people and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I suppose this whole journey into hell and back started when I was in the army, the British Army, back in 1999. I enlisted, and it was around about the year 2000 when I was in a training exercise. We were doing bayonet training. So for the uninitiated, bayonet training is where you've got a knife on the end of your rifle and you're essentially stabbing a sandbag, giving it your best war face, while being screamed at and hyped up and, pretending that this is the enemy and all of this stuff. And later on that evening, I was going to a club called the Opera House, and it was a party called Slinky. And I was going to see Timo Mars, Seb Fontaine, Paul Oakenfold and Judge Jules, and it was at the beginning of my sort of clubbing career, and it was the first time I ever tried ecstasy. So that day I'm in a field pretending this sandbag is the enemy, giving it my best war face, getting full of adrenaline, and then later on I've got the first experience of MDMA, Molly as you guys call it in the States. So all of that training just kind of fell out of my arsehole, and I just didn't want to be in the military anymore.
Right.
So it was all kind of a positive start, and it was shortly after that it was 9/11. So I was kind of leaving the army shortly after 9/11, and my friends were going over to Afghanistan and coming back like completely twisted minds and broken people, Mm-hmm. So in a way, I kind of felt like I'd taken the right path in life, but one thing led to another, and then this lifestyle of excess kind of got the better of me. I moved to Ibiza 5 years ago to work in the music industry, which has always been my love. I've been a DJ since '99. I've done club promotion. I've done little bits of production. So the opportunity to work in Ibiza was amazing. But I came over in 2020, and within a couple of months of me being here, there's this little cold that starts going around the place, and all of a sudden we're locked down. So Mixed is the company I was working for and how we were connected. That was born out of a catastrophe, and we essentially were running music production retreats, and I'd moved to operate these, do the videography, do some of the sales as well. And the villa that we put a deposit down on, they had in their clause that even in a global pandemic, we still need to meet the contract. So I don't know what she knew that nobody else did. So we're in this position where the whole music industry is currently unemployed. Everybody's locked in their houses, and we said that the obvious thing to do is to move more into music production instead of just DJ career coaching, which is what we were doing at the time. And we contacted some of our friends in the music industry, like Roger Sanchez and a few others, and said, what are you up to? Would you be interested in coming on Zoom and teaching people some of your production techniques? So we built an audience around that. And then during the lockdown, every single day we were on Zoom with a famous music producer who was teaching us their secret sauce. And that's how Mixmasters was born. Then because of the lockdown, I don't know what you know about Spain, but you can get a decent bottle of red wine for about €1.20. And, when you're locked in your house and the only thing you can do is go to the supermarket, the doctor, or the hospital. So the supermarket became our club. We would all arrange to meet each other and chat.
Right. I'll meet you on aisle 13, and
we're going to have a little next to the red wine.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So we all met, and then I kind of got a little bit of an obvious problem with daily drinking from the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
After we were kind of released and we were allowed out a little bit, that kind of stuck with me. It got more and more intense to the point where I was quite aware that I was starting to develop a problem, and it came to a head when England were playing in the European Cup final, football. You guys call it soccer,
Right.
So I don't particularly follow football at all. I'm more into music and philosophy and just weird
Right.
shit. So,
Right.
but whenever there's a big event, I always try and drag myself to it. So I end up in this bar, and I'm surrounded by Italians. So we're playing Italy in the cup final, and there's me and three really loud English girls, and in this bar full of Italians watching the match. And the guy who owns the bar is a friend of mine, and he keeps bringing over limoncello, and the drinks are flowing. And then the next minute, I know I wake up in my house, and I have no idea how I've got there, and it's not the first time this has happened. We've all experienced this. But what was different this time is my girlfriend at the time had a really shameful video of me sat in the driver's seat of my car, arguing with her about whether or not I should drive home. I was clearly in no state. The imagery was really, really brutal. I just looked at this overweight guy with a bright red head who was being pretty unkind to his girlfriend, and she was laughing it was a joke. But I knew that I wasn't joking. I could see on my face I was angry.
You were vacant for that conversation.
Yeah,
there's
nothing behind the eyes.
Yeah.
No. It's just, to be honest, like it was the first time I'd looked at it, and I actually genuinely felt that there's a demon in there, And I'm not a particularly religious person, but it was the first time I ever felt to myself, there's something demonic about.
Well,
this,
they do call it spirits for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I got to experience that, and then I checked for my phone, which was gone. And it was the new iPhone. I just paid a fortune for it.
Right.
My car wasn't there. I'd left the car in town. I didn't have enough money to get a taxi there and back. So it was kind of like one of those brutal mornings, and I made the decision there that I was going to try to quit drinking for 1 year. There's a challenge which is really popular in Europe.
Well, I want to say something real quick, and I mean, let's just say the island of Ibiza is not necessarily the most conducive to to sobriety, because everybody goes there to get fucked up. I mean, like next level, pro level, I mean, whatever the new drug, whatever, anything and everything.
Any news story I
goes.
see about them is either like somebody like with a new residency or like a huge drug bust. That's all I see from the news from them.
Right, pretty much. Yeah. But sorry for
It's an island of hedonism, So literally, even the Spanish culture is orientated around drinking. It's not as bad as the British. Obviously, I'm British. We just drink to get leathered. That's our sole mission. I mean, in England, we have something called pre-drinks. So pre-drinks is when you drink in your house before you go to a house to drink before you go out to drink. So that's the culture in the UK, pre-drinking. So
we call that tailgating here.
Yeah.
Pre-gaming and tailgating.
Yeah.
Well, in Spain, they have a culture of, it's called the caña. So it's just a half of a beer. So like we drink pints in the UK, these guys drink little half pints, and they drink them all throughout the day. You see guys that will have a caña before they start work, and they'll have a caña during their lunch break. It's kind of a steady flow of alcohol. But the island itself, we have like some of the world's biggest super clubs here. There's a huge drug culture around the island, a huge drink culture around the island. So quitting alcohol here is quite tricky. Plus, there's glorious sunshine, and nothing feels better in the sun than a cold beer. So avoiding that when it's literally everywhere you walk, it's bars and people enjoying themselves.
Right.
But I'd got to the point where I couldn't enjoy myself anymore. I wasn't drinking to enjoy myself. There was something deeper than this, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it and figure out what that was. So I took this 1 year no beer challenge, told my girlfriend, I said, look, I'm not going to drink for 1 year. she kind of laughed in my face and said, "There's no way you'll be able to do
Good luck with that, champ."
Yeah, I was like, thanks for the support, Toots. And then we ended up breaking up. We were on different paths, and I took that breakup as an opportunity to like really focus on myself. So I started the gym again, got real into my fitness, managed to get through a year of no alcohol. But I was kind of cheating. Because I was doing cocaine. Right. So whenever I did anything,
right.
So, because whenever I went and did anything social, I would get cocaine because I didn't want to go out and be sober. God, how do you do that? How do you go out and enjoy yourself without something?
Sure.
But the cocaine kind of got a grip of me in a weird way. I would buy it before I went out, and I would have a little bump of it before I went out. And then I decided I didn't want to go out anymore. I just wanted to stay in and have all the cocaine to myself. And it was like the most antisocial thing ever. And that kind of really started to creep in. But then after a year, it's like, okay, the reason I quit drinking was to change a negative relationship with alcohol. And that's what this 1 year no beer challenge says, change your relationship with alcohol. So it was a toxic relationship. I gave myself 1 year away from it. And the idea was to see whether or not I could change my relationship with alcohol. But it's kind of like changing your relationship with a toxic girlfriend, a psycho ex, You give it a year and you miss them and you reintroduce them. And it's great for 2 months. And then you get your car keyed and your clothes are on fire outside of your house. And and then there's the new mistress of cocaine problems at the same time. I was like, oh, shit. So I gave that a couple of months. And then I had another incident where I woke up not remembering how I got to bed. But this one was weird.
And there was a note from P. Diddy.
Well, no, there was a note from myself. There's a note from myself all over Facebook, but it was all over Facebook. And what I'd done is I'd invented a new language that I'd got some English and some new language that I'd invented. But from the English, you could tell that this what I was saying was full of self-pity, absolutely riddled with self-pity, a lot of victim-orientated stuff. I look at my messages, my phone's blown up. I've got all of these messages, people asking if I'm okay. Every single one of my ex-girlfriends I'm still in contact with got some weird sleazy message from me in this new language. Thank God it wasn't all English. And they're like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, I don't know. And that evening I found myself in my first AA meeting.
Hell yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So it was obvious to me that it felt like I said, it felt like there was something demonic, because that night where I'd invented this new demonic language or whatever the hell it was. Yeah. I actually went to meet a friend from back home who was on the island for a little bit. And the plan was to have one beer and go home. And I did. I had one beer and I went home. So that was a success. But he gave me a bump of coke on the way home. And then I couldn't sleep. So I decided to have a nightcap. And then when I had a nightcap, I had a mood boost. So I started chatting to a friend on the phone. And then as I'm chatting to my friend, I kept on nightcapping. And then I woke up and this whole thing had happened. I was like, well, how did I trick myself into that? It's like I had good intentions, but I went out and I managed to do some mental jujitsu with myself and find myself in a position where I'm like, I need help,
Right. Well, it's funny because when you say like when you talk about cocaine and alcohol, I always call cocaine drinker's companion, because it's like I do cocaine so I can sober up from drinking, so I can drink more, so I can do more cocaine. And it's just, they're definitely, adjacent to each other. Or for me, at least, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we say in the UK, we call cocaine packet, and it's like there's lots of jokes around packet, and there's lots of jokes about going out for 1 pint, and then 2 days later you're in a kitchen, £300 in debt and single. It's like that's what it does. But yeah, I kind of I found myself in this AA meeting, and like I'm a fairly strong-headed person, but I was bawling my eyes out in this first meeting, and I knew I had something I needed to fix.
Had you had experience with AA before that? So, or how did you hear about it, or how did you, I mean, I guess everybody's heard about it, but was it just like, oh, okay, cool, I need to go here, or was it through a friend or recommending it or what?
Yeah, it was. I had a friend called Joe who was equally as chaotic when he had a drink. I watched him start a fight with 3 girls and then jump off a cliff one time. So
Nice.
I knew that he was kind of
right.
he had the demon in him too. And so Joe joined AA and he was raving about it. And I said to him, I've actually looked into it and I've looked at the 12 steps. And what I really can't get over is the handing myself over to a higher power, admitting that I'm powerless. It's like that just didn't sit right with me. I said, I don't feel powerless. But I kind of had this discussion with him. He said, yeah, I understand that was a struggle with me as well. But at the time when we were talking about this is when I'm in my 1 year prior of sobriety from alcohol, but I was cheating with cocaine.
Right.
So I wasn't sober, but I was I was trying,
Yeah.
So that's how I found out about it. Now Joe is he's a DJ. Actually, I shouldn't really divulge much more than that, but he's quite successful.
Why don't you give his last name and yeah?
No.
An address
Joe doesn't mind, but I don't want to go too deep into it. But
Joe I get you.
From his career blew up. I mean, there was videos of him playing these huge festivals in front of crowds of like 25,000 people. His album that he'd been working on for 5 years that he couldn't finish, he finished in 6 months after getting sober.
Amazing how that works.
Going through the steps, and he was thriving. So I was like, well, I want a piece of that. I need a bit of that in my life.
You want. They say you want what we have.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't. Obviously, I wasn't familiar with the lingo just yet, but I did genuinely want what he had.
Right.
So I went to my first meeting. Then I went to an NA meeting as well, because it isn't. The cocaine was the main problem. I think the alcohol just kind of went along with it. But in the past, I've also had a 2-year-long ketamine addiction. I did ketamine every day for 2 years solid. So I mean,
how kidney function after that?
He said, "How's your kidney function after the ketamine?"
My kidneys were fine. I have some friends who've had some major bladder problems.
Oh yeah.
You know what I noticed? Like this time, like ketamine is like huge now. Like I'm like it's like almost as frequent as cocaine. Like when I was in Florida this last time for Miami Music Week, it was like everybody was on, hitting K, and I'm just like, why, dude? But I mean, it seems like it's like huge now.
I can tell you why.
Yeah.
It's disassociative.
Yeah.
It's disassociative. When you look at the way the clubbing has gone, it used to be back in the day. It used to be all sorts of weirdos, misfits of society, would go to listen to some music, connect with other weird people. And it was a vibe, and it was that scene was predominantly led by empathogens like ecstasy. When ketamine came along, it came at a time where the clubs were getting more popular, more overfilled. The scene wasn't as strong as it used to be. You were essentially just smashed into a dance floor with a lot of strangers, with barely any room to move and dance and express yourself. The only thing you could do is like maybe an occasional fist pump. So ketamine, if you have social anxiety issues, which most people do, especially since the dawn of social media, ketamine helps you to disassociate from your environment and the mess that you're in. Because I strongly believe that a club can be heaven or hell depending on the capacity. If it's overfilled, it's a terrible place to be. And on this island, some of the clubs are so over capacity that it's literally impossible to even get into the area where you're supposed to dance, like DC-10, for instance. It's so overfilled. It's just not a pleasant experience. And ketamine helps you to disassociate from all of these problems that you get with that. You understand? So and if you have any sort of social anxiety issues, you do some ketamine, you kind of forget that you're even out. So you You don't have to worry about social anxiety issues. And if you're a little bit wobbly and you can barely speak, people just kind of giggle at each other because this guy's catty and, you know, this guy's on care.
Mm-hmm.
And you get left alone. A lot of my friends who had issues with ketamine have also got social anxiety issues. So I think that's the remedy for the way the clubbing has gone in recent years.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, for me, you know, drinking actually, you know, was for my anxiety because I had, you know, like I had a panic attack in the airport and, you know, I threw some alcohol at it and guess what? It went away. But, you know, the thing is the temporary solution, you know, became the problem. And, you know, it sounds like it's kind of the same thing with ketamine. So that kind of gave, you know, because I've never done K, because I like things that I think I'm in control, like alcohol, cocaine, like that's my lane. I don't want to deviate from that. I don't want to trip balls and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Ketamine is like the ultimate thing. Ketamine, LSD, stuff like that is like the ultimate thing to shatter your illusion of control in the universe.
Right. Yeah.
I will tell you that.
I don't think I'm ready
do
for
enough
that.
of it. You do enough of it, and it's like, okay.
Hey, well, real quick, let's go ahead and throw to commercial. And here's our new sponsor. Hey, guys, Kelly Reverb here. Yep, you guessed it. We have no sponsor. Hey, so if you want to be a sponsor of the show, be sure and hit me up on thispinkcloud@gmail.com. Also, hit the link tree, please. We could always use your support. There is a one-time donation. There is a monthly support button, all that stuff. Also, we're doing shout-outs. So if you want a shout-out, we can work that out. And if you want to be a guest, hit me up. All this good stuff can happen via email at thispinkcloud@gmail.com. All right, well, we appreciate your continued support. We always love you guys. All right, and we are back, and then we also have some new music out, and here it is. All right, and that is our new music, and it's doing quite well. We actually had Government that just hit 100K streams on Spotify. I mean, that's big, dude.
Yeah.
That's like no playlisting. That's organic, man, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The DJ making the DJ, man, like I like to say. I think that's cool.
Okay, I've never heard you say that. That's tight, though.
Well,
I'm gonna listen for you to say.
Well,
that
no, I've
time.
always said the DJ makes the DJ.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Because if the DJ is
right?
playing it,
Huh.
then
Well, you know about
he's
that.
making your career. Yeah.
Huh.
Is
that right?
Is that right?
Is that right?
Anyway, be sure and follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. And we both have YouTube channels.
Yeah.
Isn't that exciting?
Yay.
Anyway, but back to the man of the hour, Mr. Ketamine himself, Adam McLaughlin. By the way, I feel like, but I honestly, I have to air this. Like every time I talk, I sound insanely stupid, and we cut to you, and it's just like eloquent English / British, and you're like,
they're the ones who invented it.
Right? You're just like,
you can't expect them to sound as bad as us. They invented the language,
right? And Chad, your beard game could use some work too.
I know, dude.
Like,
That's why I had to trim it.
He is
dude.
just like,
I had to trim it and.
But
get
look
rid
at
of it.
Adam.
I
dude.
know, bro.
Why can't you be more like Adam?
I'm gonna try, man. Chill, man.
Anyway.
You've got a good head on you, though, Chad.
I appreciate it.
Even though it's huge and you look like a mongoloid. But anyway. But yeah, so okay, so you're ketamine, and then what? When do you like? I mean, how does it wind up? When you just go, okay, hey, let's give everything a break. That kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it was through an NA, and starting with the steps, and then kind of connecting with a higher power. So my sort of spiritual philosophy has always been kind of curious, and then I kind of got into the world of manifestation, and then convinced myself that I was God incarnate for a while,
Okay.
and and my philosophy has always been that I'm an expression. I'm a piece of consciousness that's part of the universe that's expressing itself as a human being.
Right.
But then when you have something like a problem with drink and drugs, hand yourself over to a higher power and actually start getting some feedback from it, then you go from being a creator to a co-creator, So it changed my relationship with this higher power, however you want, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it God or the universe or your higher self or unified consciousness, however you want to put it. I'm not entirely decided on what that is. I just know that sometimes I've got to surrender parts of myself over to it and stop trying to control everything,
Right.
So,
oh, yeah.
And the one thing that I did want is I said, look, I came to Ibiza, which is an island of drink and drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And a little story. When I came here, somebody sent me a link to a blog, and somebody who was on the island wrote this really cool blog and said that whatever you think you're going to do on the island, forget it. The island has a different plan for you. And if you resist it, the island will chew you up and spit you out. And everybody who lives here says that. They all come here with a idea of what they're going to do, and the island takes them in a completely different direction. There's kind of a mysticism to the island. And I kind of came here with a job in the music industry. I thought, well, that doesn't apply to me. Everything's boxed off. What could possibly interrupt this job? And then there's a global pandemic,
Oh, yeah.
When I got sober, I kind of found myself in this weird position where I had to sort of look at how I really felt about the scene that I was promoting. So in Mixmasters, we promote music, and that's attached to a scene. Now, all of a sudden, the clubs are no longer appealing to me. Not the types of clubs that I used to be into. I like more small, intimate spaces now where I can, where I know people and there's space to talk. And maybe it's just me getting older, but that's how I feel.
Right. Now. Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah. So I started to feel a little bit like an imposter, like I'm working in this industry where people are trying to get on festival stages, and I would rather shit on my MacBook and slam it shut than go to Amnesia at this stage of my life.
Right.
So I'm like, well, okay. I was brought to the island to get sober, which is a feat in itself. That's great. But what's the next step? Because I don't think it's in the music industry anymore, but it's got to be music adjacent. And this is when I discovered Nigel, my current business partner. And he was working on something which was really, really cool. But I didn't quite know what it was at first. I was just interested in it. And then he had a meeting with me about potentially investing in Mixmasters. And in the end, he said, we actually want you to come on our team as a director, and we'll give you shares in the organization. And we've developed a technology which is designed to help people deal with anxiety. It helps with overall fitness. It lowers blood pressure, and it's all revolved around using music and heart rate rhythm measurements to deliver a kind of therapy, which is just so in my new wheelhouse. It's like unbelievable.
Right.
When I was communicating with my higher power, I was like, look, you deal with the sobriety thing. I'll do the rest, but also I don't want to just, be involved in the music scene anymore and facilitate parties and all this type of thing. I want to do something that's meaningful, something where, on my deathbed, I can look back and think I actually helped people along my journey.
Right. Yeah. And that's it's funny you say that, because that resonates with me, because that was the reason why, I did this show. It's not, because I want to hear myself talk, because, I cringe every time I hear myself talk, but I just wanted to give back and, have an open dialogue about, recovery and mental health. And, since I'm a DJ, a lot of people can resonate with that, because I mean, the nightclub scene and the bar scene is a shit show. And it's like, not a whole lot of good stuff comes out of it. I mean, yeah, it's a good time, and it's fun to be in a community that likes, good music, but it can be, crazy, insane, and not the best setting for your mental health,
No, certainly not. The late nights are horrendous. As I got more into fitness, I realized the importance of sleep, and I've missed out on so much sleep over the years.
Right.
So much. I go out on a Thursday, come home on a Monday night.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, no, and I can imagine. And then the island, dude, like it's just like, it's party central, literally party central.
Yeah. You can roll out of a club at 6 a.m., go and chill on the beach for a couple of hours, end up an after party in a villa, go to another after party in the afternoon, be in another club that night. You can do that for a full 7 days if you've got the stamina.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about what, so I know, I think I've heard of, binary beats, and I've heard of, frequency healing and stuff like that. And I know it's kind of something, but it's a little more, less tree hugger and a little more, I guess, scientific maybe, or how would you explain it to somebody, from the outside, if you're pitching them?
Well, we're basically a team of psychologists, hypnotherapists, researchers, and musicians, and me. Right, so I'm the wild. Right, so the guys have been researching the effects of music on something called heart rate variability. So when you think about heart, we all know what heart rate is. When you're on a treadmill and you hold the two things, it tells you what your heart rate is. So it might be 120 BPM, so that's beats per minute. Heart rate variability is the measure of the spaces between each individual heartbeat, right? Okay. So your heart should not be like a metronome. If your heart rate is consistent, it's a sign of potential. Well, if it's like a metronome, you're literally on death's door. What you want is variation between the spaces in the beats, and the higher the variation, the better the nervous system is.
You want the transient of the heartbeat to land a little different each time.
Exactly. Yeah, right. The higher the variation, the better. So a low HRV is an indicator of potential illness or future illness. A quick story: there was a guy came to see us whose partner was wearing one of these Whoop straps, and her HRV plummeted over the course of a couple of weeks, and then she found that she had a cancerous growth on her knee, which needed to be cut out. Thankfully, it didn't spread, so they got it early enough. But her heart rate monitor was telling her that there's something wrong. So low HRV can indicate negative health implications. High HRV is a sign of a good, strong nervous system. So if you suffer from panic attacks, for instance, chances are you're just constantly in the fight or flight mode, and your HRV will be really low. So we have been studying HRV, and we use something called resonance frequency training. And what this is really cool. When you're breathing at a lower rate, there's a certain breathing rhythm for each individual. It's like a thumbprint. So your rhythm will be different to my rhythm. What we do is we monitor your heart rate readings while we take you through some special music with some breathing patterns. And when we see a spike in your HRV, we know that this is your resonant frequency. So we know that if you breathe at that breathing rate, you can change your autonomic nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest. And there's a lot of different health benefits as a result of working on this. So what we do is we then take your rhythm, we get your exact rhythm, and we make a piece of music that follows this. And there's some audio cues that tell you when to breathe in and when to breathe out. So once you've got your resonance frequency established and you've got your music track, all you need to do, Kelly, is listen to this music and breathe along with it for 10 minutes a day, and you will see your HRV go up over the course of weeks. So it's kind of like, if you think about it, breath work is kind of exploding at the moment. Lots of people are getting into breath work.
Sure.
And And the music itself is, we've done lots of studies on the different tones and the construction of it. So that combined with the breathing and the heart rate monitoring, it's kind of like sort of semi-spiritual but scientific. We can give you data to prove that this is affecting your physiology.
Right, and you actually have the heart rate monitor on, so you're actually basing it off of that. And then do you specialize? Like, what would the program be? Like, if you noticed that somebody had a rhythmic heartbeat that didn't have any variability, what would you send them to the doctor? Or, I mean, what would you do, and what would your company offer? And then, like, I guess, as far as pricing and what is the product plan, or how does it work?
There's a couple of ways of going about it. Right now on the island of Ibiza, we're doing some research trials. So we invite people in to have their HRV analysed. So what we do is we pop a sensor on their finger and we put them in front of a video that takes them through 5 different breathing exercises, and we analyse how that affects that HRV. Once we know what the best effect is, we provide them with the music, and then we check in with them a few weeks later. We are just about to launch a personal sensor. So you can get your own sensor, and you can monitor your own HRV whenever you do the breathing exercises. You don't need the sensor on to do this, but you need to check in every now and again to see whether or not your frequency has changed. Because like with personal fitness, your fitness changes over time, and so does your resonant frequency. This will shift over time depending on how often you train and how well your autonomic nervous system is adjusting. And then the third part of it is we have a really super duper sensor, which is going to be ready at the end of the year, which can also track HRV, but can also plot where your emotions are. Now, what we're going to do with this is we can actually see how a piece of music affects somebody emotionally. So if you think of that in terms of research, you could give me a track and say, Adam, how does this track make people feel?
Right.
And I can take a group of people and I can come back and go, Kelly, they hate your track. It's dog shit. You need to do another one.
Right. Well, so okay. What instrumentation do you that are y'all using to be able to see that, how people react emotionally to music?
Right. So the sensor that tracks emotions, it's a combination of 3 different sensors. There's EKG, which monitors the heart, and then we measure the skin conductivity and skin temperature. So essentially, it's a lie detector test.
Okay. Yeah. I get it. That makes sense.
So we'll be able to predict how things affect you emotionally. If you think in terms of marketing, if somebody has a commercial, we'll be able to see what emotions this elicits. If somebody is a therapist, they'll be able to use this sensor to get data on how the therapy is affecting them. We did an experiment with a person who had, she was struggling with sleep. Because she had cancer. So we were doing an audio program to help her rest. And the results showed
and you do these specifically tailored to that person.
Yeah, that's that. But I mean, the product which we're going to be delivering to the general public very soon is for the resonance frequency training, which involves a sensor, some software, and then some a community that you attach to. So we'll provide you with different audio tracks, check in with you, and just help you to improve your HRV. So if you do some research on HRV, it's a key metric that indicates your general health. And you can hack it, you can change it. So resonance frequency training and breathing is one way of doing it. Another way of increasing your HRV is ice baths. But that fucking sucks, so nobody wants to do that.
Right.
Yeah, cold showers is another one. It's same, nobody wants to do that. Exercise, diet.
Nobody wants to do that. You said exercise. I was like, nobody wants to do that.
Well, I mean, some people struggle with exercise. If you're in your 60s, it's not like you're going to be doing any ultra marathons anytime soon. But you can increase your HRV with a simple breathing technique. And it's all like kind of cutting edge stuff that sounds like so simple. It's kind of like it's so simple that we have a hard time getting people to buy into it, because I think it can't be that simple, you know. But with the technology, we can prove what's happening to the body. So just do that every day for the next 7 days, and let's check and see where your heart is. And then the heart shows with myself, I had a 27% increase in my HRV just by chilling out and breathing on the morning. Now, bear in mind, I go to the gym 6 days a week, and I do cold showers and all this bullshit. And I couldn't really change my HRV, but with a simple breathing technique, I have a 27% increase in my HRV. My sleep got better. My eye contact with people was suddenly locked in, and it's normally I'm kind of like I struggle with eye contact.
Yeah.
My confidence in stressful situations, my problem-solving abilities, all of these downstream effects just came by breathing in at 6.25 seconds in and 7.49 seconds out. That's my personal resonant frequency.
Right.
And if I breathe every morning, everything else kind of falls in line. It's absolutely nuts. I got so excited when I discovered this. I was like,
it was like an epiphany, right?
Yeah, and also like if we can help people just kind of manage their stress, that's a massive win for me. I know how people are in the world that we live in is just it's so chaotic, and we're getting bombarded from every angle with news and Trump and Musk and all of this stuff coming in. Whether and it's like, okay, well, these guys are wrong, and these guys are wrong, and you just get so fucked up in the head looking out at the world. You need to take a little bit of time out just to kind of relax. Now, I've tried to meditate for years and years, but I have a monkey mind, like
right. No, I call it squirrel brain.
It's like you just don't think for 20 minutes. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've never not been able to think for 20 minutes in my life. So when I meditate, I get frustrated. But when I do the resonance frequency breathing, I get the same results as meditation just by focusing on my breath, which is what meditation is. But because I know that I have to do it for 20 minutes to get the results I want, my monkey mind doesn't go, fuck this. And then I cancel after 5 minutes. Right. So it's been a game changer for me, Right
now. So do you actually time yourself to make sure that you're doing the proper 20 minutes?
Well, it's 10 minutes. You can do 15 minutes. Sometimes I do 20 minutes. Depends on how I'm feeling. But the tracks that we send you are like 15 minutes long. So you literally just listen to the music, and then the music stops, and what you've done, and it sets you up for the day. It's kind of like a cup of coffee that lasts all day.
Gotcha. And then also, do you do the same thing at night, or is it just a morning routine?
You can do it at night as well. If you struggle with sleep, I highly advise you do it at night.
Sure.
Harmonify also makes music for specific conditions. So we've composed music to help people with PTSD. We've composed music to help people focus. So if you have 1,000 emails to send out in 20 minutes and you have a squirrel brain, you put this track on, and this track helps you to focus on the task in hand. We've got music for sleep. We've got music for relaxation. The guys who I've joined, they've been doing this for 5 years. They've been researching music and its effect on human physiology for 5 years now.
Sure.
So, yeah.
No, and I find that fascinating. Like the whole frequency. I mean, because you can go on YouTube and find different frequencies that are supposed to manipulate certain things in your life, and I think it's cool that y'all are packaging it in a way that's tangible and understandable
and data driven,
and user friendly.
Yeah, the stuff on YouTube is what we make is kind of similar. It sounds similar. It's just that we've done research behind it. Whereas the stuff on YouTube is made by some guy on Logic Pro or Fruity Loops in his bedroom, and he says it's 335 hertz or whatever the current feeling frequency is, binaural beats, all of these keywords.
Right.
It's 4 hours long, and you listen to it and you get a headache after 15 minutes. It's there's a lot of wild claims made around the subject of.
I'm gonna get the oscillator out and go in the comments and go, "This is bullshit. This is not 420. This is not 420 hertz, man. He's at 630." It's like,
I was chatting to a guy in the States who he's really nailed his DJ genre. He only plays healing house, and all of his social media.
I did not realize that was a genre yet, but I got to check it out.
Yeah, from business techno to healing house, it's like this guy is putting out these claims and all of these testimonials from people I'm sure don't exist. So I approached him and said, "Listen, we actually have technology. It can tell us whether or not there is any healing effect to your DJ sets. do you want to test them? And
Right.
nothing. It's like
Nothing.
blanking us. Nothing. No.
That's
I won't name and shame. I won't name and shame him, but there's an opportunity there to see whether or not. His
yeah, I
claims are
mean,
real.
hey, it would be cool to have data back it up. See, I told you I'm playing Healing House.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna start making those claims.
Yeah, right.
It's like, here, listen to this like industrial, like borderline stuff. It's for healing.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not for anger. It's not
Right.
for people that
It's
like
not
electronic music and hate.
Yeah, right. It's not a way for me to vent how miserable I am on the inside.
Yeah, like I was sleep tracks. I was sleep tracks. For instance, there's a lot of sleep music on YouTube, and I've used it for a long time, and it's never really worked with me. But then, when I got the first sleep track from Dave, our composer, and I decided I was going to try it out, I thought, well, okay, it's 20 minutes long. I'll put it on as I'm winding down for bed, and then I don't remember falling to sleep. I just woke up the next morning, and I was like, oh, okay, there's something to this, because the 4-hour one that I put on YouTube just makes me. Just kind of makes me overthink and get sucked into the music, whereas Dave's track just kind of helps.
Now I have a question. So is it like is there audio as well with it, like telling you when to breathe or anything like that? Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what I said. We send you a track that has audio cue to tell you when to breathe.
I gotcha. Okay, I gotcha.
You've got relaxing background music, and then you might have a piano for in and out, or it might be a chime, or it might be a drum. But it's obvious. You can listen to it and just it's kind of like cling, cling, cling.
Right.
And it goes on 15 minutes. The music in the background changes over time. But yeah, it's like then we test your HRV as you're listening to your own track, and we can see it's elevated by 20-30% or whatever it may be.
Right.
And then we do need to check you later on to see whether your frequency has changed. Like I said, it does change all the time. And the thing is, if you are 1 BPM out of your resonant frequency, there's like a 20% reduction in the benefits. So you've really got to be locked on to that rhythm. And it's a really, really bizarre discovery in human physiology.
Yeah.
But combining music and breath rhythms.
Well, I definitely want to try it out personally. But like, if somebody is interested in the program, why don't you give them the website and what they can expect on the website?
Yeah, so it's harmonifylive.com. At the moment, we have an explanation of what resonance frequency training is. We're waiting for our sensors to come over from the factory, and then we'll be able to distribute them. But we do want to do a little bit of testing before we start selling them to the general public. So they're not going to be available to purchase just yet. What we do have on the website that you're interested in is we do have some free tracks for PTSD, focus, relaxation, and sleep. So you can dive into that, and you can follow us. Just follow the links to our YouTube, subscribe there, and experiment with the music. But keep an eye on what we're doing. If somebody thinks that it may be beneficial to them, give it a couple of months when we've ironed out all of the bugs from the software, and we're confident that because we don't want to distribute something that isn't working.
Sure, of course.
We are going to be doing some trials on the island. Go on.
I would love to be a trial subject. I would love to, test it out. I'm volunteering.
I'll do it.
Well, you, Kelly, you could actually produce your own tracks as well. Once you know what your frequency is, you can make your own music.
Right. I could make my own healing house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's already doing that. You can't steal this guy's idea.
But mine will have scientific data behind it.
Yeah. Well, we do have something else which we're going to be developing later on in the year too. So we're going to develop some heart rate sensors. So on a dance floor, we can have a display of what people's collective heart rate is. So that's
cool.
Yeah. I mean, every DJ says this, but it's like right now we're trying to help people with anxiety, emotional problems, emotional regulation, focus, productivity, all of this good stuff. And then, we'll do this as kind of like a fun project towards the end of the year. We're going to be doing something on a beat with that.
Right. That would be funny. Well, the entire dance floor's in a K-hole right now, so their heart rate is, yeah, that's funny. But yeah, man, I mean, this is kind of cutting edge stuff, and I'm excited for you, and hopefully this takes off for you, and you can help humanity in some fashion.
Yeah, that's the plan. Well, that was the request, and it's
Right.
happened. And anybody who's on the early stages of their sober journey, what I will say is that what's waiting for you on the other side is so much more powerful than the little bit of joy that you get from numbing yourself, like you are at the moment. Just stick with
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Brighter days are ahead of us. So much can happen in 1 year. It's unbelievable what can happen.
Oh,
in 1
yeah,
year
yeah. I mean, well, just like, Chad and I's productivity alone, it's, literally it's gone from what, a year. Well, I relaunched the label in October of 2023, right? Yeah, no,
yeah, because that's when you just put out the
re-release of Finally,
yeah.
But it's amazing what we've accomplished. Like, I mean, as far as and I'm not trying to brag on here, but I mean, I never thought I would be at 40,000 listeners a month on Spotify and 100,000 streams a month. A year ago, basically, or a year and a half ago. It's insane once you put the plan in motion and, you stick at it and you actually get shit done, and you get shit like the ancillary stuff, like publishing and all this stuff that you figure out when you're sober. And, back when in the 90s, it was just a party for me. And I was like, I get paid to party. Cool. But now, as you get older, you want to have a little bit of a business plan.
Exactly. Things that used to baffle us are now effortless. That's what they say in the groups, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the promises.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's true. It's true. It's like the amount of time you have to do something minor to move on to the next stage to do something, but you don't do this minor thing because I can't be asked, I'm hungover, or it's
right.
You just get out of your own way.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, and then if somebody wants to get a hold of you and talk to you about this more, where can they do that?
They can reach out on Harmonify Live on Instagram. I manage the Instagram account, so you can reach out to me there. And also Adam at harmonifylive.com. If there's anybody out there that's delivering any sort of therapy, we'd be interested to talk to you because this is something that can be added on to existing therapies, something that the client can take home with them and you can check in with them. We are very much in the awareness stage of things now. We're just trying to create awareness. We're not too interested in making money right now. So if we can find somebody who we could potentially work with, maybe we can send you some sensors and get you trained up and get some research on the go.
Gotcha. Okay.
We'll have to chat. I work for several different addiction treatment centers that are inpatient. So
I'd be really interested. Yeah, I'd be really interested to see whether we can help with addiction. I think just getting out of the fight or flight mode into rest and digest will give them the headspace to pursue that path of sobriety. Obviously, I didn't have this on my sober journey, but I did have a morning routine, like a gratitude journal and a little bit of meditation.
I did that as well. And I say that was, a key to actually maintaining my sobriety was the gratitude in the morning and then also in the evening. And you just find that you're, when you're making conscious contact with God, things have a tendency to go a little smoother.
Yeah. Well,
at least for
writing
me.
a gratitude list increases your HRV. We've proven this time and time again. You're literally having an effect on your heart just by writing down what you're grateful for. Right. And I can prove that with data,
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I just want to say, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I can also prove with data that, excuse me, just one drink can flatline your HRV. Just one.
All right. Okay. Well, good stuff. Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to talk more off the air, but I do appreciate you coming on. What time in the evening is it over there?
It's 20:37, so it's 8:37 p.m.
Okay. Gotcha. Just time to ramp up and go out, dude.
Perfect.
Right?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's been nice to chat to you.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. Be sure, like, subscribe the podcast. And Chad, as always, a pleasure.
Yeah.
With your new tattoo, you look fancy.
Yeah.
We're all.
That's my whole goal. Is
We're
just to
all
look
very
more
proud.
fancy.
We're all very proud.
I walked in the shop and I was like, "Hey, can you make me look more fancy?" You know?
Right.
There you go.
Anyway, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.